everybody, welcome to another episode of Did You See That? I am Manola.
And I am Olo.
And today we'll be reviewing a show that we are so obsessed with, Paradise.
What a brilliant.
What a show.
Brilliant. What a show. What a brilliant show.
We even have to readjust ourselves.
What a show. What a cast. What a cinematography.
What a man.
What a sterling.
Not you shaking your boobs.
Okay.
But,
Okay. Let's give you the plot.
Yeah.
So essentially, Paradise is about the world is coming to an end, and it's specifically centered on the US. And so as the world is coming to an end, the US has intel about this, and so they're trying to make sure that they build an underground city. And the US president has the help of a specific American billionaire named Sinatra, who gets a bunch of scientists to help build an underground city.
Scientists, psychologists, just
all of it, multidisciplinary people who will help build a city that will feel like real life, but beneath the surface, in order for when day zero comes, that they are able to evacuate and go into the underground city. The catch, unfortunately, is that only 35,000 people can make it. So what this means is that not everybody and their family is going to make it. First choice, first priority is obviously the privileged few, and the personnel of the privileged few. But even there, as we saw in the past couple of episodes, is that not all of the president's ministers, Secret Service actually make it. Very few. And so in the season finale,
this is the best episode on television. And
the last two the last two episodes were the best of the entire season.
Yeah.
And so in the season finale, they are racing against time to find who killed the president, and we find out that actually Sinatra isn't behind the president's death, and also that the killer is someone who comes from outside, right? And it was so the episode was so beautifully captured, because from the cinematography to the music, they were building the suspense throughout the episode.
You're literally on the edge of your seat.
We're literally on the edge of your seat. We're literally on the precipice of finding out who the killer is and running and racing against time. And so Sinatra orders Xavier to restore the city back to order. And obviously, she has leverage over him because she, one, has kidnapped his daughter, and two, reveals to him that actually there's life above the surface.
And actually, your wife might be alive.
Dr. Terry, she alive.
She alive. She even plays him a voice note to be like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Terry. I'm looking for my husband Xavier and my 2 kids." And that's when he's like, "Okay, I wanted to fuck this whole shit up, but actually this woman has my kid and access to my wife." So
he tells everyone, all the Secret Service that went rogue, he's like, "Peace, I'm out." I'm gonna find my wife.
Let's restore factory settings.
Back to default settings.
Yeah.
Finding my kids. And so we spend the entire episode trying to find the killer, right? And what was interesting is that they take us back in time to when the city was being built.
Not the city being built by black and brown people who won't even have access to the city. Which is so telling of actual society. If you go to Sandton, the majority of the people building Sandton don't live in Sandton. So it's so interesting how what I really loved about the show is art imitates life, right? You have very few people who are the ones who are doing the building, who are exposed to toxic chemicals in building the city, who don't even know why they're building the city, who are being exposed to all of these chemicals, only to find out that only the privileged few get to be in the city.
Only the privileged few. And the person who actually ends up discovering this is the project manager, who's obviously in charge of these people, and he finds out that actually they're not building a waste ground, they're building a city. And as his as his men start to die slowly, and he realizes that Anders, the scientist who was in charge of this, gets him fired so that he can't reveal that he knows about this. And so he obviously is angered and frustrated, and we end up realizing that he tried to initially assassinate the president twice. The first time on the lawn.
When he was pretending to be.
Yes, when he was pretending to be part of the media. And then the second time in the underground city at the presidential residence. And so he obviously wasn't on the list to get in, and so he stole other people's identity to get in, posed as someone else, and he remains responsible for the for the president's death. But I think, and we're kind of left on a cliffhanger because obviously now Xavier leaves to go find Terry, his wife, and Sinatra's in hospital because she's been shot.
Even the way that Sinatra was shot.
Listen, I thought she was dying.
Yeah.
I would have been glad.
Yeah, same.
Because what an evil woman. She was ready to take out Xavier's daughter.
A monster.
Such a monster. But I think what was so interesting about just this entire season, and also just this episode, like, just as we were seeing how working class people were responsible for building the underground city, but like they were never top of mind for who would live in the city, is all the themes that we see in society around class, privilege, race and gender coming into play here, and the intersection of those things even in the underground world. And that money and resources buys you convenience, and it buys you power
and access
to what are you doing when the world comes to an end, Chomi? Where are you hiding?
For rent, I don't even have a fake passport, so I don't have a plan B.
Do you have a bunker?
I don't have a bunker. So it really like got me thinking about things like that. Like if the world were to end, I'd probably be like, this is how I'm meant to go out. Like, I don't think I'd put a lot of work into yam nomhlaba, because
haves and have-nots. Oh, Fanwani will be famous forever. I think about it so much.
I don't think I'm ill prepared for the day that the world comes to an end, and I think it's because I've just accepted my fate. Like, I'm not one of the 35,000 that are going into it. And then probably in this world, the 35, they've already been chosen. They know who they are. They know when to apply. Like, they have an evacuation plan.
Same.
So if you don't have an evacuation plan by now, baby, you are dying. You are dying. But yeah, I think the themes were so relevant to the world that we live in, which is what made it such a brilliant show. And it's like, even in the building of an underground city, those systems still exist,
and they are still
authority.
Intact.
Yeah,
and in times of crisis, those with money, power, and resources will always come out on the top. Will always come out on top.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I think it was such an interesting thing. And I think also the other thing that I enjoyed about this season, right, is just how, it was so interesting because it's called Paradise, but it's far from paradise. And I remember saying to you when it first started, I was like, friend, from the first episode, I couldn't understand what was going on.
Like,
why does everything look fake? You know, why does everything look manufactured? Until like it was revealed that, oh, okay, this is an underground city.
Yeah.
But I think the amazing thing about this is that we've watched so many US sci-fi, president gets killed, 0 day, the world is ending, there's a threat, and the storyline is so similar, right? That this was so unique because it was actually giving us a glimpse of what happens when the conditions are not livable on the surface. is there a plan? What is the thinking behind that? And they took us into that world of what that would look like. And I think it was also just a lesson of how they didn't think beyond society changing or how it can be different, right?
And it could have been an opportunity for that, right? Like it could have been an opportunity to create a very like egalitarian society where like everybody is just chill. But I think what was particularly interesting is like how humans always gravitate towards structure and authority and instruction, and
they gravitated to what they knew.
And they gravitated to what they knew. And even though even though it was like this is an opportunity for things to be completely different and like let's flip it on its head. Also, the sample size is so nice and small. It's like 35,000 people in comparison to like bigger populations. Yeah, it could have really been an opportunity to do things differently. And I think what was interesting is that it touches on just human nature and how like we are creatures of habit and what we know, and like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and if it is broke, still fix it in the way that it was before.
Yeah, but also if I was a billionaire, why would I want an egalitarian society?
100%. And I mean, I've created this underground situation so that I can continue being a billionaire.
Sinatra, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so that I can like continue holding
and the purse strings and like making everyone my puppets.
Yeah,
and everyone needs to fall in line.
Yeah,
right. So yeah, but I think this season I'm excited for what's to come.
I was for season 2.
I was very relieved where it ended.
Same, such a good ending also.
It was a good ending, but I think for the viewer it was also a calming ending, because you know some episodes where it's like, yo, have to wait 2 years now to figure out if this person's alive or dead. And so it leaves us on a positive note in a way that like Xavier's wife is alive.
And this is what I was gonna ask you, because Sinatra is. So my mind, when she played that voice note, I immediately went to, it was AI. I was like, what if she's not alive?
Friend, it's not AI.
What if she's not alive?
Okay, but there is life above surface.
No, that we are sure of. But what if, particularly because she wanted him to stop the shenanigans, she would have gone. We've already seen that she's the kind of person who can go to like extreme lengths.
I don't know, but whatever the motivations were, I think the writers wanted us to end on this way.
Yeah.
Because they also knew that for Xavier, his character, it would give him hope.
Yes.
And it also ensures that there's something to look forward to for the next season.
Yeah.
Because
the story continues.
Yes, if we ended on a note where like they shot Sinatra and they took over the city, like then what's next? We'll try and live egalitarian. Like what would be the next storyline? Right? So now the next thing I think from a production perspective was, let's go explore what's above the surface and actually see if like there are people, because then now that opens up a new conversation around like, how are these people living? What are they eating? What's going to happen with
where
these
the
people
coming from
versus the people underground?
Yes.
And when these two worlds collide, because they will, it's just going to be a combustion.
It's going to be chaos.
It's going to be a war.
Because it's also going to be like, who made you guys privileged enough to be able to like survive and hide from this thing?
How are they gonna?
How are they chosen?
How are they gonna like restore order?
Yeah, it's gonna be
with millions of people coming underground or trying to break in.
And then it's gonna be a fight for resources. I wish I was in that writer's room. There's a lot to play with there. It's gonna be scrumptious.
So I think that's why they deliberately did that. Whether or not Sinatra is telling the truth about his wife, we don't know.
Yeah.
Right? But it leaves us on a good note to see it's a gateway into what will possibly be for next season. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. What would you rate the show?
Oh, Sana! Just for you, Sterling. I'm kidding. This is someone's husband.
That's a married man.
That's a married man.
Also,
but that shower scene.
Hi, Nokolo. The shower scene. But also...
We're cutting that.
No, we're not. The crying on cue. That guy acts, guys. That Sterling carried that cast.
Remember when I said to you that I'm not sure about him in this character because I've never seen him like this. I've seen him in This Is Us, and I was like, this feels a little. And what depth!
By the way,
what depth!
The writer of This Is Us and the creator of This Is Us is the same creator.
Really?
So I need you to get on your Zoom with This Is Us, okay? So good. But yeah,
I would give it. I don't have any criticism.
Yeah, no notes.
It's a 10.
No notes. 10 out of 10.
No edamamwas.
It's a 10 out of 10.
10.
Across the board.
Cinematography, cast.
On point.
Music. Screenplay. Like, script was...
The thing that I really, especially in this last episode, is when they find out who killed the president, and the guy who killed the president is about to end his life, and he was like, it's such a joke that we created this whole other world, this paradise that is exactly the same as the world that we've left. And I was just like, bars and bars
beneath the surface.
The dialogue is the dialogue
was
so
amazing.
good. It's so good. And it's very rare sometimes to find like good dialogue and acting in thriller or like in action. But for some reason they were able to just like make it mesh together in ways that were fantastic. So
100%. Yeah. And I loved how in the last episode, like, it's just like the music, because I kept thinking about it and I was like, they made you feel as the viewer that you were also rushing against time, right? Rushing against time because it's the last episode, right? We know this is ending in an hour, so we also want to know what is going to happen. We want to know as the viewer, like, where are you leaving us before season 2? But also because like we want to know who killed the president, and so they bring you into. I loved how they brought you into that world,
and
right?
the backstory,
and it felt like we were in it, and we were also like trying to put the pieces together of, you know, like, how did he die?
Yeah, and it was also like interesting the motive behind why he kills the president, right? And that's when you know a show is good, because on the one end you're like, oh yeah, murder is terrible, but on the other end you're like, this is justifiable. And then it makes you question yourself as a viewer to be like, oh, from a morality perspective, murder is never justifiable. But in this case,
you knew people were gonna die.
You knew people were gonna die.
You knew you were gonna get on a jet.
You know what I mean? Chomi, if you were in this situation, listen to me, if you're in the situation, and then you were one of the few that made it into the underground, but then I'm still up there, would you come find me?
I would.
Would you? I'd come find you too.
Really?
Kilugwala though, but I would try.
Me too. I'm so glad we had this. We're not bad people.
No,
I would come find you.
No.
I just feel like I wouldn't. It would eat me every day.
Me too. I'm living in this underground bunker and I don't even understand.
He was an alcoholic. If he wasn't killed by that hammer, he was gonna die by alcohol.
100%.
Literally,
100%. 100%. I don't think I could make it down there without my community. So I'll come find you too. I think that's a good place to end it.
So if you haven't watched Paradise, get on your Zoom.
Check it out.
Get on your Zoom.
Check
okay?
It out.
Please.
It's the hardest thing on television.
Literally, right, it's the best thing you will want to watch right this moment.
So check it out. It is on Disney Plus, or depending on where you're watching us in the world, it is on Hulu. So check it out. It's been renewed for season 2, and thank you for joining us. Let us know what you thought of Paradise.
Awesome.
And we'll see you next week.